I need not go into how there are all these weird situations where you don't want to join two different gauge wires together if you don't have the right crimper, you don't have the angle to properly put a crimper on a crimper cool on a crimper, and all that stuff. Sometimes you want to just join two wires. You got those Twizzler things, they're pretty good. Those cap, they could get smaller. But if you don't have a cap and all that stuff, you want to, or you don't have room to put a cap, whatever it is, and you want to just join two wires in a way that they stick well, this is a lot like that video that's got a gazillion views. It's just about meshing these two-inch or so flandered out wires just by putting them like this, twisting them together like a Twizzler, starting with one right angle, and for some reason it sticks. I have no idea why, but it works really well. This is a smaller one. Let's say you have only 1 inch working in a cramped space. This is a lot like that Twizzler trick that you see a lot of people do, where they just twizzle them together, fold it in half, put electrical tape on it. But that thing can, by pulling apart, can slowly unturn the little Twizzler gill. This thing is called Lock Twizzler, Twizzler Lock, this video, and because it's got a lock to it. It's just like that Twizzler, but with a lock. So instead of putting it like this in that snazzy video, that really good one with the longer two wires, you put it like this right next to each other. From top view, if you're going to do clockwise, you can do either direction. Let's say, for example, you're doing clockwise. From top view, wherever this camera is, I don't know, you look what it looks, do what appears to be clockwise, but it's really only, I say it looks like a half a turn after you do it, but it's actually only 1/10 of a turn this way and 1/10 of a turn that way. Both wires crossing over each other from top to the bottom, and go a little bit further because now bottom view is also clockwise, and it's already set up to continue turning clockwise from the bottom view. I don't know what I'm blocking the camera with, but you're turning these things the same, what it looks like the same direction. It's also clockwise, but it's from bottom to top, so it's actually the opposite clockwise. For some strange reason, it looks like it set itself up perfectly. You see that gap right there? That's what you don't want, because this thing is all held together by friction. The beginning of the second clockwise knot, I don't know what my hands are blocking, you do it in a way that is right next to, this this wire becoming one wire, so to speak. You can do it, you can put these things really far apart from each other, whatever it takes. How I can do this without my hands blocking the camera, I have no idea. Even the first turn wasn't tight enough. So it's going to make this thing be horrible. But anyway, this is just to show how to make the knot. You put these things far apart for the beginning of this second Twizzler. Actually, the first Twizzler. Second clockwise turn anyway. And don't do what I just did. There's a gap there. That's a kind of a big screw up. When you pull the wires apart, it will pull some of the rubber off the actual copper wire, and it'll make the knot somewhat tighter. But that whole thing is what you don't want to do, because the whole thing is about friction. And the whole way that these two knots cancel each other out is when the knot is all close to itself, the wires pulling apart on one knot, or as if they would pull apart the Twizzler gizmo in general, from before, are pulling the opposite direction on the other, either top crisscross 1/10 of a Twizzler or bottom Twizzler, so that it cancels each other out. On a regular Twizzler, this would be unwinding. I'm pulling off at about 10. See, the rubber's coming off it. See how there's no copper sticking out? Anyway, I can see the rubber is literally sliding off this thing. Also because this thing is only 3 inches long. But I'm pulling off with about 10 pounds of pressure, and it's not changing the knot at all. And with a similar knot that was in this thing, actually, I pulled with about, I had more length, and I wrapped these things around my finger, and I pulled about 25 pounds for about 10-15 seconds. Didn't come apart at all. Then I put some tape to make it waterproof if you have shrink wrap or whatever you want to do. The next thing is, when this is folded, which many will do, I guess I would do to put electrical tape around it. When it's folded and you pull the two wires apart, it will bend this thing out to a perpendicular angle, because it is from the top two wires that we started with, so to speak, it's pulling out on the sides of the knot. That's before the bottom Twizzler, the continuation of that knot, is pulling on this Twizzler thing. I guess this was the top. Is pulling on the Twizzler part, and the Twizzler part is already tightened as much as it will be, so it won't get any tighter, and it won't allow the top knot to loosen. In other words, hard to picture that, but the two knots are canceling each other out so it doesn't budge. It's tightening itself into being into being still, and that's why I call it a Twizzler lock knot. This video was horrible, I'm aware of that. You want to say it sucked? I agree. I agree. If I pull on this anymore, the rubber will completely come off the wire. And then you take a piece of tape like this. I need not demonstrate it, but tape it in a way, because the pulling apart makes this, whichever direction it's in, on whichever side, will make it want to be perpendicular. So when you tape the tape, do it in a way that it's structurally strong to hold this sideways. And that's just for looks and stuff anyway, or aerodynamics or whatever. And then this thing will last, like, my guess is it'll last like 10 years. It costed 5 cents of electrical tape. Took, believe it or not, if I'm not babbling so much and screwing up royally, it takes 5 seconds to do it. It's just a certain twist. You line up the two top things here for the first twist to be what looks like clockwise. Then you bend them to the bottom, one wire over the other, and then the bottom should be clockwise too. Line up the wires so that your clockwise is set up to be that when you do it, the two wires will cross over each other, one crossing over the top, one crossing over the bottom, both ending up pointing down. And then turn it over, and they'll overlap each other a little bit if you bend them far enough, pointing down. Then it'll look like it's still ready to continue on the same turn, which actually isn't. It's still clockwise, but from the other direction, which means it's the reverse clockwise. Then you have double knot, or reverse clock. I think that's what I call the reverse clock. There's too much babbling, but anyone who can see past my babbling knows how to do this knot now. I'm sorry it took like 5 minutes instead of 1. 6.5 minutes, good grief.